Right, fellas, most requested video, as always, Jeff Nippard's new tier list has just dropped, and people want to know, what does Rick De La Stick, aka Dr. Density, have to say? So I opened the YouTube, and the first thing that's freaking recommended to me is Jeff. And right next to him, 4 myths keeping your shoulders small instead of yoked. Pretty freaking ironic timing. I wonder if Menno Henselmans saw Jeff's video and said, let's freaking hop on the gravy train of capped, stacked, and jacked deltoids.
The best and worst.
We'll have to look at that one a different day.
The best
For now,
and worst.
Let's talk about what Jeff has to talk about here. And if I was a freaking betting man, I would say that he is going to put machines and cables in freaking S+ tier. And the true horse cockery is going to go in, well, not S, that's for sure.
Tension.
How low will it go? I can't predict that, but I know that it won't be S.
It doesn't cause shoulder pain, and it has a
So
smooth resistance.
we know this. It's all about the feel. It's all about the freaking ease with the progression. What are we doing?
That target the side delts over exercises that target the front delts.
Straight to it with the freaking Atlantis lateral raise machine. I'd be willing to bet that he rates that higher than your classic tried and true dumbbell lateral raises. If I was a betting man, that's what I would say.
And that's because your front delts already get hit with any chest work in your program, and
anyways, again, this is no shade, okay? This is just when history repeats itself. We got snoring bulldogs in the back. I know people are going to comment on there and say, who's sleeping? It's the freaking bulldogs. All right.
Shoulder exercise.
Let's get to it, shall we?
The most effective
Wait,
shoulder
holy
exercise.
buckets. Did he already get into it? The first thing I heard was not the most effective shoulder exercise.
Across the
The
board,
lateral
everything.
raises.
The standing dumbbell lateral raise. Now, because the side delts are more important for developing an X-frame physique with a tapered look, you'll probably notice that I do slightly favor exercises that target the side delts over exercises that target the front delts.
X-frame.
That's because your front delts already get hit with any chest work in your program, and they're usually overdeveloped relative to the side or rear hips. I like the dumbbell lateral raise because it's super simple.
Let me freaking just, let me just cut you off right here, Jeff. And this isn't for Jeff, this is for literally everyone. How come everything is so freaking one-dimensional in this world, okay? In people's eyes. Why does the freaking dumbbell lateral raise have to be your classic dumbbell lateral raise? Like, the beautiful thing about this is you can change it up. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know a lot of like the bro scientists, it's like the pinkies up when they do it, right? I personally, when I do my lateral raises, for the longest time, I was like, I tried it, like the freaking bro science gurus, like put the pinkies up at the top. You know, I've tried it all, and I think what it was I had some forearm pain. So if I can give you guys any advice, is don't do skull crushers with a straight bar, okay? Especially not with like a wide grip. So a while back, I was like, man, why do I always use an easy curl bar? You could do so much more horse cockery with a straight bar. And once I got up to a relatively decent freaking load, there was a snap, crackle, and a pop. And it took like half a year to get better. And because of that, just a lot of things irritated it. But one thing that it was a freaking gift, okay? Because guys, again, it can be a gift or it can be a curse. And it's all about perspective, and it's all about how you look at a situation and a scenario. You can say, oh my God, this is the worst thing. I got this forearm pain and I can't make any gains. Or you can say, hey, you know what? This little tweak, or even if you had surgery or something, you can say, hey, this surgery, this is a freaking blessing, okay? Because it's forcing me to train outside my comfort zone. It's forcing me to take a new approach to my freaking hoisting, hefting, heaving, and horsing that I would never do if it wasn't for this injury in the first place, okay? And when you do that, you really learn new things about your body and how it responds, and you can figure out new freaking techniques. Because, like, for instance, when I had an ACL meniscus surgery, I couldn't do, my freaking lower body was shot, just atrophied to the bone, and I couldn't, do any standing heavy stuff. So I was just doing, at the time, I was like, well, I can't just approach this as like, frustrated and demoralized because I'm going to lose gains. And I have to use this as a time to do a radical experiment. So I did like arms every single day because lifting is one of those things that just keeps me freaking sane. When I can't do it, I freaking go a little crazy, right? So I don't really even necessarily care if it's like most optimal programming for the biggest gains possible or the best recovery or whatever. I just want to be able to horse cock weights every single day. And like after a surgery, if it's only freaking 5, 10, maybe 20 pounds tops, that's all I need, brother. And I'll find radical tips and tricks to freaking, horse cock through the wazoo. You feel me? So what I was doing at the time was I was like, okay, arms every single day, right? Light weights. And I was starting to get, overuse, like tendinitis. And that's where I learned, like, hey, if I just change the diameter of the handle every day, so one day it's standard diameter, another day it's freaking 2.5 inch thick, another day it's 3 inch thick, and then going back, like, that freaking alleviated it. You know what I'm saying? And that's a freaking, a secret that I have in my back pocket now anytime I'm feeling a little tweaked up. So after doing the freaking skull crushers with the straight bar and having that forearm elbow pain again, I was like, hey, in my back pocket from a previous tweaked injury, whatever, now I know to switch it up. So that's why I started doing fat grips on everything again for a few weeks. And you know what? After months and months of nothing helping and it just freaking being flared up like a freaking beast, putting those thick shaft grips on freaking did the trick. And how? Because I learned from a previous injury, and experimenting and not just being flustered and frustrated that I can't horse the weights I want to horse, right? Being forced to be outside my comfort zone. It's helped me level up in this game that we call horse cockery. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, fast forward now to the freaking lateral raises we're talking about, with the freaking skull crusher and the forearm, flared forearm. This kind of bothered me, but I was like, hey, wait a second. If I freaking, supinate that sucker, like a freaking partial curl here, and I kind of lateral raise here with a nice shrug, and then I can also bend it over, right, and do more of like a reverse fly, right, and also just like changing all different angles and directions of these freaking, lateral raises. It's like, holy buckets. I can get the biggest freaking deltoid and trapezius pump of my life. Right? It's insane. And then it's like, well, what if I freaking tap at the bottom? You know what I'm saying? Or what if I, come here and I freaking come down and I get wild with it, And that's another thing too. It's like in this video, it's probably going to be all just the cookie cutter classics, right? But is there going to be any freaking, chicken wing motions? Is there going to be any freaking stirring the pot, swimming motions, right? Is there going to be any freaking up, down, right? Or is there going to, like here, boom. Or is it going to be like external rotation, external rotation, wide press, down, like this kind of stuff. Like all these movements, like the shoulder, a complex joint, like this is the stuff that's going to make the freaking, give you just tremendous girth in the shoulder girdle. You know what I'm saying? But of course, none of this stuff's going to be talked about. It's just going to be like, cookie cutter horse crap. And it's the same thing, though. My whole point is like, okay, we're talking about a lateral raise, but is a lateral raise, or is a lateral raise a freaking all-encompassing, like, shifting freaking hand positions? And you get what I'm saying? You can do so much more with it. Maybe not that much more. Maybe you can just change your hand positions up, but you know what I mean? Like even just like however you like changing your elbow position, all that stuff's making a difference. You know what I mean? You get what I'm saying? It's something to experiment with. And the fact that we're going to coin it, S, A, B, C, D, F, whatever, it's freaking stupid, right? We all know that this motion, and there's freaking Mr. Beef in the back. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Mr. Beefy! Beefy! He's going to be going for the rest of the video for sure.
Well, you can get them done quickly. You can grab a pair of dumbbells a lot faster than you can set up a cable, especially if you do cable.
And that's the thing, too. I mean, he's freaking absolutely right, I'm going to agree with Jeff and everything I feel like we should agree on. And yes, you can do it quick, and you can freaking, you want to have the best workout of your life, like in the shortest amount, you know what I'm saying? Start with the freaking, I won't even talk about, my favorite shoulder complex and all that, but just even lateral raises. Yeah, so freaking quick, right? And there's ways that you can do it as well, right? Or you can freaking seesaw it, and just ways to change it up, to change the stimulus a bit, and to keep it exciting. Because at the end of the day, it's got to be exciting, right? You got to have fun doing it. You got to want to do it. And like with the dumbbell, like it's just right there. Everybody has dumbbells. Even if you only work, even if you go to the gym all the time, but it's like, damn, I don't have much time in the gym. Hey, you know what? Like everybody can have a pair of 5, 10-pound dumbbells. And that's freaking enough. I'll be honest with you. I had to wait around for an hour today, and I wasn't like at a gym, or I didn't have any weights by me, but I had a chair. I had a stool, like a very light stool, a stool in my daughter's room. And I just picked that sucker up, and I was like, what if I lateral raise this? You know what I'm saying? What if I freaking do a Cuban rotations with this? What if I do like a freaking circle? You know what I'm saying? What if I stir the pot with this chair? You know what I mean? Like it's not, these things are so freaking simple to incorporate and take like zero weight. Like it's just unbelievable. So the fact that we're talking about a dumbbell exercise, let me tell you right now, if it's a freaking dumbbell exercise for shoulders, it's S tier. Because everybody has the dumbbells for the most part. And they're so easy, and you don't need a ton of weight. And you can make those freaking suckers burn. You know what I'm saying? But like, well, it's not about the burn. It's not about the pump. It's about the freaking trauma and the tension. You can get some freaking severe tension on those delts. You can get massive calf delts with very light weight. And then the fact is, like, if we're going to be talking about science-based training and all that, Milo Wolf, you know what I mean? A freaking true scientist talked about it. Are forced rep techniques better for growth? And I think his freaking study he talked about said, yes, they are. Well, hey, what's an easier technique than freaking like a, 5 pounds, grab the 10s, grab the 15s, grab the 20s. You get failure, grab the 15s, right? Bang them out, grab the 10s, grab the 5s. You know what I'm saying? Like such easy ways to just freaking ladder and drop set and force reps, right, with those dumbbells too, especially talking about the shoulder. Like it's so easy to just get a little bit of momentum in there to really force some reps. Get the freaking momentum, force them. If freaking dumbbell lateral raises isn't S tier, brother, this is just silly, childish, like the tabloids of fitness. Like this is the new hottest trend. Like you gotta check this out. This is just freaking malarkey,
one arm at a time. So I do think they are the most time-efficient shoulder exercise. I don't think they're the most effective shoulder exercise. That's because you have zero tension on your side delts at the bottom when they're the most stretched.
Brother, does it really matter, honestly? Does it really matter? Is it really going to make a difference? That's what I want to know. And people are going to say, but it does. If it has a 1% difference, is it going to make a difference? If you can freaking go psycho mode, and it's convenient, like you said, the easiest to progress with, the easiest, most accessible exercise, and you can go freaking horse mode on those suckers, like, is the freaking fact that there's not as much stretch here as when you're freaking here, is this gonna make any difference? Is the guy doing them like this, have these just colossal boulder shoulders, where the person next to him is just a puny pencil neck because he's not taking this science-based approach? Like, holy, how do you get such big shoulders? Well, let me tell you, kid, you gotta freaking hoist them like this. It's like, oh my God, that's what, think about how stupid that is. This is just coming from common sense. So theoretically, you freaking hook up some electrodes or whatever. It's like, oh yeah, you got some more, freaking stimulus in this angle versus here, okay? But then we have to find something to lean against. You gotta have a bench, and you gotta, freaking single arm at a time. And it's so much less convenient. And it's so much less fun than just horsing some freaking lateral raises. You feel me? Damn.
You don't reach peak tension until your arms are at 90 degrees when the delts are most shortened. But despite this limitation,
thank you for being
clearly for shoulders. This has been proven by real-world examples of body.
It's hilarious about this argument. People say, well, of course Ronnie Coleman, anything would work for him. He's on so much gas. As if these science-based lifters aren't. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, just because a couple of them aren't, just like a couple of horse cockers, you know what I'm saying? That's just such a stupid argument. Let's just look at through time tested. What did people do? What got you tremendous girth? You know what I mean? Like, we don't need to reinvent the wheel.
Builders who build huge side delts from dumbbell laterals. And I still do these myself whenever I'm pressed for time. But because
he knows it. He knows that this is the best. Right? He knows that this is the best exercise, but it's not sexy. Of course, we have to find a way to zest it up, don't we? But he knows. That's why he's like, he can't even freaking lie about it. He's like, and I still do that, but it's not the best.
With the slightly suboptimal tension curve, I'm putting these in B tier.
Suboptimal from B tier. The most like quintessential deltoid exercise ever. B tier. Holy.
However, if you lean against something, like a bench or a rack, you suddenly modify the resistance curve to place more tension.
I'll tell you right now, I've seen a lot of people in gyms, a lot of people with obviously a lot of pencil necks, but a lot of horse cocks as well. I've seen a lot of people doing this. Not once have I ever seen like, Mr. Girth, Johnny Horsecock over here banging. It probably does get a little bit better stretch. My point is, guys, I would bet my life and my soul at the end, it's all said and done. If a guy did this for 50 years and a guy did this for 50 years, you'd have practically the same freaking outcome. I would bet my life and soul on that.
On your side delt, when it's most stretched. I think that this is the most effective way to do lateral raises with dumbbells. The lean-in dumbbell lateral raise is going in A tier. Leaning away might shift some emphasis away from the muscles of the rotator cuff and onto the lateral delt, depending on how you interpret this study, but it still has the issue of not placing.
And I'm not going to knock it, but like when I see people doing this kind of stuff, like boom, or like holding and doing all this, I just think like, this is, brother, you're freaking complicating it, man. You're complicating it so much. Just grab some freaking dumbbells and hoist those suckers. You know what I mean? Like this is just like, I think this is like awesome for dicking around time. You know what I'm saying? And hey, I do it as well. Like I have many days where I just go and I just dick around in the gym, right? It's kind of like my off days. So it's funny because anytime I go to commercial gyms for the most part, horsecock, I max out a lot, right? The footage is there. You can check out like my Instagram and see what I'm always horsecocking massive loads, and the gyms are freaking checking me like, oh, what's this guy gonna do today? You know what I'm saying? But I mainly do that here. But a lot of times when I do go to commercial gyms and people, they know me from YouTube or whatever, they're probably always surprised. Like, I thought this guy was talking about peak horse cockery, and here he is doing some, child's play pencil neck shit. But again, we can all have fun at the gym and dick around from time to time. You know what I'm saying? And like test out, like, how does this feel? But like, that's exactly what I consider this. This is dicking around, right? If you want to get down and dirty, get down to business, grab some freaking dumbbells, start with some great form, whatever, you know what I mean? Change it up, try out different ranges of motions, try different grips and all that. Work your way up to the heavy suckers, start hoisting them with a little bit less control, right? It's not rocket science. Start with perfect, slowed control form. As you can't maintain that as it gets heavier and heavier, start hoisting those suckers. Go freaking full ham bone, just, hip hinge, get those freaking suckers, try to throw them as high as you can. After you do a dirty set like that, drop back down to a moderate weight and then try to, horse those with as much force and control as possible. It ain't rocket science. That's the freaking way to go. This is just, overcomplicating it.
High enough tension in the stretch position.
And I don't want people to think, well, damn stick, I do that. Why are you such a hater with this? I'm not being a hater. But I'm saying if we're going to get down and dirty to the nitty freaking gritty, I think that this is just overcomplicating something as simple as a freaking lateral raise, and I don't think it's going to make any difference. Now, you can say, but there's no freaking, where's the data? I just think, use freaking logic and common sense. Is the guy doing the lean or whatever going to have huge stacked and capped delts versus the guy not doing it? No, they're probably going to have the exact same outcome.
So I'm putting these in B tier as well. Okay, here's a spicy one.
I was going to say, if that shit is better than the classic way to do it,
Super ROM.
Spicy.
Lateral raise. I picked these up from Dr. Mike Israetel when we trained shoulders together. Man, they definitely lit my delts up. I think this is a very rare movement. What do you ask?
I mean, this shit's been around forever, hasn't it? Isn't the Lou Rays or something, the weightlifter who would do the freaking laterals all the way up? Weightlifters like to do a lot of stuff in that overhead position for just thick shoulder girdle. But this is what I'm talking about. He's like, oh my God, this is so crazy, the range of motion and all that. Jeff, I'm telling you right now, brother, if you want a freaking recipe for the most humongous deltoids ever, that's part of it, brother. You know what I'm saying? Chicken wing that sucker, change directions on that sucker, stir the pot on that sucker, change directions on that sucker, right? You know, freaking go all the way up, all the way down, and all the way freaking over the rainbow. You know what I'm saying? Rotation, right? Rotation, freaking Y press, right? Boom, my God. That's gonna freaking solve all your shoulder issues and just give you the most humongous girth of your life.
To get the side delt fully contracted. I like that. And even though the trend of the current evidence is converging on the stretch being more important than the squeeze, there's actually very little direct evidence on the shoulders about this.
What? So now we're just freaking cherry picking. I thought the stretch was the most important thing. Everything ever. It was like, oh, these leg extensions, they're good. But the freaking stretch is why these freaking Nordic leg extension, whatever the frick, is that what they're called? I can't even remember at this point. But you get what I'm saying. The sissy squats and all that, better stretch. But now in this case, it's like, well, although the stretch, in this case, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, what? Well, then why the frick does, you know what I mean? Then why not just, why is doing this horse crap better than doing this? Do you know what I'm saying? Like in this case, well then, yeah, frick, brother. You know what I'm saying? Now we're just throwing the stretch out the window?
I think these are worth trying. That said, because they have the same resistance curve issues.
This freaking Dr. Mike pitched them to you as if he coined them or created them, which he didn't. It's been around, people have been doing this forever. You know what I'm saying?
As the standard dumbbell lateral raise are not quite good enough to get into A tier. I'm putting the super round lateral raise in B tier. I'll get to...
Jeez Louise, brother. He even loves it so much that he's negating the freaking stretch on this one too, yet still B tier. I don't even, what is going to be the freaking S tier? Some cable horse shit probably. You got to have a just super intricate setup. And I don't mind a good intricate setup. Listen, I'm the king of intricate setups. I like to take some weight releasing eccentric hooks and some freaking bands and some plyo boxes, and you know what I mean? Like I just did some science-based shit the other day. Let me tell you what it was. All right, if you guys hadn't seen it, I posted on Instagram. You gotta check it out. It's a freaking hell of a clip. But I did a bench, and I had band tension, right? And I also had eccentric hooks for overloading. And it was like, I shit you not, it was about 500 pounds up to on the rack or so. And then once you got about midway, it would drop, I think, 110 pounds. So then it was 380 plus the banded tension as well, would pop off. But how's it more science-based? Well, I had a pair of fat grips on as well. And a couple people commented, they said, how do fat grips increase the range of motion? Well, think about it. If you had if this is a barbell, right, and normally the bar touches your chest here, if you put a fat grip on, right, it's going to open your hand more. So instead of touching your chest here, now it's going to touch your chest here. Do you get what I'm saying? You're going to get a bit deeper. Do you get what I'm saying? Because the freaking fat grip is adding extra girth. Do you guys get what I'm saying? But it's not adding extra girth. It's not like pressing an axle. You just have more girth in your handle. Do you guys freaking get what I'm saying? Look at it. Is this freaking... I got all these child's things here. This is the normal bar, right? And it touches your chest. But if you have a fat grip that you're gripping here, right, that's the fat grip. Well then, do you see how you have to go deeper then to touch your chest? Because now this is the bar. The handle has more girth, but the bar itself does not. So it was an increased ROM, accommodating resistance, heavily overloaded eccentric phase bench press. Yeah, hell yeah. And then I'll tell you something as well, since we're talking about that. I did the same thing, minus the band tension. I'm going to get too freaking, wild up the wazoo right away. But I used the eccentric hooks on overhead pressing, and holy buckets. If you think overhead press doesn't work your triceps very well, try putting some freaking eccentric hooks and overloading that sucker. Because the next day my triceps were freaking smashed. Okay? Good God. Because think about it. And I went upwards of 355 pounds to unrack, all right? But I didn't do that one because that was feeling way too sketch. So I dropped it back and I put more weight on the bar itself than on the hooks. So what I ended up doing was it was 317 unrack it here, lower it, the hooks would drop off into freaking 275, press it up. We're talking science-based, holy buckets. Anyways, people probably don't care about my experimentation. I freaking live for it, I love it. That's why I always want to go to the gym, because I have such a good time trying new things, right?
Cables in a second, but first, I want to get the most controversial one
Here
out
it
of the way.
is. Here it is. Let's see why it's controversial.
All right, people who like the overhead press really like the overhead press. And I can see...
Hell yeah, I think everyone should like the overhead press. It's the most badass movement there is. It is the most badass movement there is. Without a doubt, right? Everybody does bench press. Not a lot of people squat. Not a lot of people deadlift. Nobody overhead presses. And that tells you something. When people have the choice of freaking doing shoulders, as we can see from a previous video I made, it's like, hey, do you want to freaking, press, or do you want to do a lateral raise? The people are 10 out of 10 times, everyone's going to do freaking lateral raise, right? And I think that just comes down to it's just brutal horse cockery. It's a tough movement. You got to have a lot of freaking power, in your core, right? Stability, right? Some people, shoulders can't do it, but does that mean that they shouldn't do it? No, they should find a way to fix their shoulders so they can do it, right? If you can't overhead press, you have some serious underlying issues going on with your shoulders. And what that probably means is you're going to F yourself up bench pressing, without a doubt. And it's funny because nobody does overhead press, but I almost find it's a big phenomenon that I would say probably equal amount of gym bros, if not more, actually prefer incline pressing to flat bench. Which I've always thought, incline press is cool. Like, yeah, it's a great exercise. But it's like, why would I incline press if I could flat bench and just overhead press? Let's just freaking, cut the middle, man. And I know that incline's a great chest exercise. It's awesome. But if we're thinking freaking, saving time and just hitting as much freaking gusto in the gym as possible, what a hell of a pressing day that is, huh? You know what I'm saying? Flat, overhead, dip, holy buckets. But nobody chooses to do this, and that says something. Nobody else, all the hard shit nobody chooses to do. Does that mean that it's because it's a bad thing, right? No, of course not. It's just, it takes more freaking practice. It takes more cojones. You know what I mean? Nobody wants to go into the gym when they feel like, Johnny Girth, you know what I'm saying? Because they probably, a lot of people go to the gym. They've been going to the gym for a few years, whatever. They put some size on. They've done all the machines and cables and some bench pressing and stuff. They built some decent size. They don't want to be humbled by going to a bar and not being able to press one plate, right? I think there's plenty of gym bros that probably can press 225 for sure and can't press one plate overhead, which is just, you feel what I'm saying? Which, it's hard. It's a hard exercise and it's hard to progress with. But does it mean you shouldn't do it? No, it's going to make you a horse cock. Absolutely. And people can say, what does that mean, make you a horse cock? It's, guys, I've said this before in I think one of these videos, and I'll say it again. It's not even so much about does it stimulate the front delt, but it doesn't hit it doesn't hit the rear delts. You know what I mean? Let's throw it out the window. We're not freaking dissecting body parts here and all that. If you get freaking horse cock strong overhead press, you're going to have strong shoulders. And when you have strong shoulders, you're going to be able to horse bigger dumbbells on all the freaking pencil neck movements, which I'm not calling them pencil neck because I think they're bad and stupid. I do them as well. They're just pencil neck movements because it's the movements that the pencil necks prefer to do. You get what I'm saying? If you get a giant overhead press, don't tell me that you're going to have small delts and that you're going to be weak on the, you know what I'm saying, whereas freaking, Johnny Cookie Cutter is I don't do overhead press, just huge cat delts, giant lateral raises. No, Johnny Horsecock, if he has a big overhead press, he's going to come to freaking Johnny Cookie Cutter. He's going to take those dumbbells, he's going to horsecock massive lateral raises because he has freaking giant jacked shoulders. Everything's cyclical. You know what I'm saying? It's a freaking chain reaction. That's why I think that it's so important to get strong at those particular movements. It carries over to everything. Just like the deadlift. Oh, the deadlift's not a back exercise. It's a hamstring exercise. Brother, I don't think tell me one guy that can horsecock a massive conventional deadlift but then can't do massive bent over rows. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, again, it's a freaking, if you have one, you instantly automatically have the other. If you have a big deadlift, you're going to have a freaking tremendously big bent over rows. And when you have tremendously big bent over rows, nobody can refute. They're going to have a freaking stack and jack back. Okay? Or it's like, oh, but I don't care about bent over rows. I don't want to work my lower back. Okay, but if you have a massive freaking deadlift, nobody can refute that person with a massive freaking deadlift will have just a colossal freaking seated cable row. You get what I'm saying? Like, it all goes hand in hand. So to not do this stuff, like, oh, but I don't care about getting strong. I just want to look strong. I just want to be big. Hypertrophy is the goal. It's like, well, frick. You're going to achieve it so much easier if you get strong with this type of stuff. That's just how it works. And the fact that this is such a freaking controversy in today's day and age is just baffling.
Why? A strong OHP is one of the most impressive feats of strength that you'll...
I mean, he's freaking horse-cocking massive loads. You don't think Eddie Hall can, you know what I'm saying? I'm sure he can lateral raise over the hundreds because he can press this much, you know?
see in the gym. Actually, I'd say out of all the barbell lifts, I'm more impressed by a big overhead press than I am by a big squat.
Even freaking Jeff Nippard is more impressed by an overhead press. So, like, don't come at me and tell me that, like, and we don't even care. So, I don't care what people think. Bullshit. Everyone cares what people think, all right? It's just like, I don't care how much I can lift. It's like, bullshit. You always say you don't care how much you can lift because you can't lift freaking jack diddly. If you could, you would do it. You know what I mean? I don't care about being strong. It's like, that's because you're not strong. When you are strong, then you get to show that you're strong. And then you get to admit that you care. But when you're weak, it's easy to be like, I don't care about strength. I just want to look like I'm strong. It's like, no, you wish you were strong. You're just not. Which is why you're falling into this mindset that you don't even care. It's like the most common thing. It's like when someone says, well, I don't even give a shit. It's like the people that say they don't give a shit more than anyone. That's why they're saying they don't. They're trying to convince themselves they don't even care. I don't even care. I mean, we all do it. Something bad, misfortunate happens to you, like, whatever, I don't even care. It's like, wait, brother, the fact that you're saying that means that you care so much, so deep down in your soul, which is why you're expressing, I don't even care. Bullshit! Of course you care. That's why you're saying it. If you didn't care, you wouldn't even think about it.
A big bench or a big deadlift.
Well, thank you for being my
Question
friend.
is, how effective is the exercise for building 3D delts? Oh,
Brother, get the frick out of this shit. This is just so stupid. So stupid. I mean, yeah, he's going to say it's not. Well, it's very front dominant. You have disproportionately large. It's bullshit. In what world does someone have disproportionately large front delts? You know what I'm saying? If this sucker's big, then all these other suckers tend to be big as well. You know what I mean? It's like people think they can just isolate something. Just isolate one freaking head of the delt. And yeah, it probably can activate it more, but that doesn't mean that if you go do this, you're going to have zero freaking, you know what I mean? Like, huge front delts and just everything else is flat as a pancake. Get the frick out of here.
let's see. It does provide high tension on the shoulders in the stretch position. You can overload it extremely well, even though the lift tends to be a...
Plus, just like, god dang it. Like, this video's going to... I'm not going to finish this in time. Wife and daughter are going to be home in 20 minutes now. I thought I had all the time in the world. But let's do our best, shall we? Frick, I mean, how long is this video even? I've gotten through 4 minutes of it. Holy buckets. 32 minutes into this one. Look at this. Look at this freaking tension he's generating. He has veins in his head about to explode, right? Every single freaking muscle in his body is tensing up. The amount of freaking tension he has to create. You think that this is not going to apply to any other lifts then? And people are like, oh, I don't care about strength. I just want to... Is when you learn how to do this and to get freaking tight and stable and press through, that it just you just get strong, and it just carries over to all this stuff then too. Like people that do like this with like perfect, like slow and controlled, it's like that's cool. You might get a good pump here, but you should be freaking soft as a daffodil. You're never gonna be able to horse massive weights, you know. But well, I'll just isolate my abs. It's like, brother, learn how to freaking brace. Learn how to breathe. What better exercise to learn how to brace and breathe than this sucker right here? And you know, honestly, I guess I'm so passionate. I preach about this just so intensely because I was once Johnny Pencil-like. All right, my first like 10 years of lifting, I never did compound movements because I had my Gold's gym books and I had my dad's freaking Joe Weider Universal machine and I had a squat rack. But like, I was like, why would I do those when I could just do lat pull downs and leg extensions and pec decks and, tricep push downs, and you know what I'm saying? I never ever squatted, never learned how to deadlift. Like, it's freaking most awkward movement in the world. I'm not going to do that. You know what I mean? But that's exactly the type of stuff. Man, if I could go back and coach myself, or like build a freaking time machine and tell that pencil neck version of myself, like, listen, I know this feels good and this feels so much better than that, and like you can get a better pump or whatever, but I'm telling you, brother, young De La Stick, this is not the freaking answer. You know what I mean? I probably would have been so much more successful in all my athletic endeavors and just everything. Confidence. You can horsecock huge weights. The confidence that instills. Getting a pump and then it deflating an hour later does not boost your confidence. Horsecocking massive loads and then going to freaking elementary school and like arm wrestling and dominating the competition. And people ask me how much you bench in your middle school, and I bench a plate, like all that shit. That all just compounds. That does just wonders for your freaking self-esteem, and when you have high self-esteem, you just perform better, like on the field, on the court, on the mat too. Like, you know why? Because at the end of the day, it's a mindset. And if you believe in yourself, you will be successful. When you doubt yourself, you will probably fail. And I talk about that all the time in lifts. But if it's anything else too, it's like if you have to give a speech or you have to, talk about a freaking PowerPoint or something like that. If you're saying like, what if I forget what I'm talking about or jumble my words or whatever, you probably will, because you freaking believe it in your mind that you're going to mess up. So you end up messing up. But when you're confident in yourself, you fucking succeed. And what's the easiest way to get the confidence? Just get strong. Like, legit, the easiest way to build confidence.
Stubborn lift. You can usually add a little weight or a rep, or at least improve your technique in some way. And I think that once you nail the technique down, it's a very gratifying lift. So that's all awesome. However, it does have two downsides. For one, it's very anterior delt dominant. When we look at activation patterns across the delt head,
this shit's so stupid. I'll pull up the graph, and now people are going to say, oh, but I want to be wide from the side. And look, it's only at a 0.6. You know what I'm saying? So what's from the freaking lateral? What's at the 1.6? The horse shit, bent over leaning cable side twist. I guarantee if he pulls up a graph of one of those horse shit exercises, I guarantee that bar is like up here. Does that mean anything? No. We need Menno Henselmans to step in on this argument, because I feel like he grasps it more. He's like, look, because he had that one thing about like the hip thrust. You feel it more. It feels like it's really working. It's really activated. The activation up the wazoo. But at the end of the day, it's not any better than the squat. And people don't do the squat. So, I want to build my glutes so I don't feel the squat in my glutes. It doesn't matter what you feel. Right? Horse cocking a massive... And plus, are we forgetting something? You don't have to press like this, right? You can freaking get that sucker, just go behind the neck, right? There's ways where you don't have to press like that. I mean, honestly, behind the neck. And if people say, oh, it's bad for your shoulders or whatever, maybe some people are like at a predisposition for that. But like for the most part, if you can't do behind the neck press, you probably have awful shoulder mobility. And let me tell you something, I have terrible shoulder mobility, and even I can still behind the neck press with zero discomfort. And if I can do it, and look at this, this is my shoulder mobility. You know what I'm saying? The freaking handcuffs. Try to put me in handcuffs. Please, try to put me in handcuffs. Okay? That is awful shoulder mobility. Yet I don't have any freaking shoulder discomfort when I bench. I behind the neck press, and it's probably because I do overhead presses all the time.
You see that the side and rear heads aren't activated much with the overhead press. And for two, because you're standing, it's not the most stable. This means your lower body and your core will have to work to keep your balance, which will...
Oh, brother. I mean, listen, for pure horse cockery and moving the biggest massive loads, yes, obviously, especially if you have no shoulder mobility, you're going to need just tremendous stability to press that sucker up. So I get it, but it doesn't mean that you still shouldn't do it, right? I think you should get as strong as you can with this, and then you should get as strong as you can with a seated dumbbell press, because then again, there's no freaking, leaning back and all that. I'm not a huge fan of the seated barbell overhead press, mainly because I feel like And if anything, people usually tend to turn that into just a high incline press anyways. Who do you ever see pressing the seated barbell? It's like straight up and back. No, it's always at this angle. Do you know what I'm saying? Whereas with the dumbbells, you can keep your like elbow like behind your head or in line with your head. Even if you're at this angle, you can still keep your elbow here. You couldn't do that with the bar.
You have some tension coming
That's
from the
just my
bar
2 cents.
away from your shoulders. That's not a deal breaker, but it's probably not ideal from a bodybuilding standpoint. So,
God dang it. I have to tinkle so bad too. Holy buckets. I'm gonna have to skip some stuff, guys. We're not gonna make it. We're just not gonna make it.
it's considered, I think I like the barbell overhead press more than a lot of science-based hypertrophy heads, but I think I like it less than some powerlifting purists. I'm putting it in B tier plus.
Holy
I think
buckets. Holy buckets. He has lateral raise, the classic lateral raise and overhead press are B tier. I wouldn't even, listen, I knew it wasn't going to be S tier, but to have the 2 quintessential shoulder moves in B tier is just nuts. Bananas.
Overhated from the science crowd, and I think it's overrated from the barbell crowd. Now, if you do them seated, you do fix the stability issue since you no longer have to worry about your
I don't know, brother. I mean,
balance. But since they're still very front delt dominant, and there's something about the seated OHP
as long as he doesn't put this above the standing.
that just isn't as satisfying as the standing OHP, I'm going to leave these in B tier as well. If you
I mean, you might as well put those in C tier then. You know what I'm saying? Like, that can't be equal to the standing, in my opinion. Plus, with the standing overhead press, the beautiful thing about it is, like, once you freaking progress with it, or you can't push, you stall out, you can't push any more weight, you can just give it a little bit of a push, and you can control the eccentric down, a little bit of a push, get up, control these. It's just so much easier to progress with than the seated, in my opinion. I think they're not even Stevens. Get the frick out of here.
switch the barbell out for dumbbells, I think a few things.
All right. He has to make this A, right? I get why he didn't make the barbell A, I suppose. I don't get it, but I understand, whatever. If this is freaking B or C, I don't even know. He's just he's a wild man.
Improve. For one, you can get your sets done faster. You can grab a pair of dumbbells a lot faster than you can set up a barbell.
In what world are dumbbells faster than a barbell press? I'm pretty sure a barbell press, boom, put a 5 on, boom, put a 10 on 10. Dumbbells, you have to walk. And I don't know about you, but I go to the gyms, and it's freaking impossible usually to get a bench. So, I don't know. Whereas the squat racks are always open. Anyways, that's just my 2 cents.
For two, you can get a bit more range of motion at both the bottom and at the
Brother, we talked about this in the bench video too. Okay, I'm sick and tired of people saying that they get more range of motion with dumbbells. In what world is anyone with dumbbells? Get the frick, who's with dumbbells going down to here with dumbbells for their overhead press? People go use the dumbbells until the freaking rubber touches their shoulder. Just like when they're benching, they usually go until the rubber touches their shoulder. Whereas when they use a bar, they go until the bar touches their chest. And just like they use a bar here, they go until the bar touches the freaking... Not everybody, obviously. Some people go to the chin. Some people go just below the chin. Whatever. That doesn't matter. But my point is, every freaking video I've ever seen of dumbbell... Let's get real for a second. Let's live in reality. Nobody is doing a freaking fly overhead press. Nobody's doing Tom Platt's dumbbell fly press, overhead press. You know what I'm saying? Like this is him showing how you can get a bigger range of motion, and we can literally see that if this was a barbell, it would be at chin level. Where if it was a bar, this is a bar, it'd be at his chin, whereas if he was using a bar, he'd probably lower it right to his freaking clavicle. You understand what I'm saying? Unless he goes lower in this next clip. No. So get the frick out of here with people saying bigger range of motion with dumbbells. I've never seen it. All right? Although I will say dumbbell flies are cash money.
Especially if you allow the dumbbells to converge. And free, I think you'll get a little more side delt involvement with dumbbells.
Well, thank you, India!
To keep the dumbbells from falling forward or backward. And so I'm going to put these...
Thank you! Okay, so he can put that on an A, but still, my point stands that this whole bigger range of motion with dumbbell is laughable when he couldn't even freaking demonstrate it himself showing a bigger range of motion with dumbbells. You guys know I'm right when I showed that, when I pointed that out. The way and you can see like the streets are trying to really get low, and it's like if you just draw the line, it was at chin level.
Shoulder press is a personal favorite.
This
you can find a good machine.
This is gonna be S tier, isn't it? This horse crap machine is in the S tier.
That gets your delts into a deep.
Now listen, with that being said, I'm not opposed to machines. I think machines are awesome. They're great for pumps, or they're great for warming up, great for finishers. Blast that sucker out, drop the pin, blast it. Huge mega load drop sets, like awesome. Force reps, awesome stuff. But don't you dare for a second put this above the classics.
Stretch. I do find that it feels better than dumbbells, and
especially because every overhead press machine is different anyways. I've used ones where I'm like, what the frick is this even trying to do? Where I've used other ones like Viking presses and all that kind of stuff. Like, oh, okay, this feels pretty good. You can't just say a machine overhead press is superior. Now there might be a freaking random gem here and there that does feel better. The tension is freaking crazy, but for the most part, you can't just say the machine's better than a freeway.
Also, since it's less dependent on technique and coordination, you can get your delts.
So since you don't need more total body strength and horse cockery to move it, it's better.
All the way to failure without losing control of the weight. It's still going to be very front delt dominant, but as a vertical pressing option for hypertrophy, this...
It's so funny. I just watched, I don't want to rewind it. I'm scared it's going to just blast right in an ad if I do it. But it showed him was like here. Talking about freaking front delt dominant, whereas with overhead press, it's true front delt dominant when you can just freaking press it back here. You're telling me, brother, these are not even Stevens.
Is usually my go-to these days. It's going to A tier plus.
Well, it wasn't S, but it was A tier plus. I don't even know what the pluses mean. The pluses aren't even a freaking criteria themselves. It's just like, damn, I wanted to make this S tier, but the buffoonery would be a little too astronomical if I did. This is just bananas, though. Look at this shit. How in what world is this above this and this and this? And then even this, which you think you'd be drooling over, a freaking super ROM.
And it's also my #1 exercise for the front delts, making it our first reveal behind door #1. If you don't have a good shoulder press machine, my next go-to would be the seated dumbbell shoulder press. All right, this is a cool exercise you may have seen recently on Arnold's Instagram. Called the Arnold style.
Look at Arnold getting them freaking likes. Holy buckets, 524,000 likes. Good Lord. And you know what's funny too is that 63,000 plus shares. And all those shares are coming from pencil marks. Oh my God, John, check this exercise. I've never thought to do this before. Whereas once you get more experience, they're like, yeah, because it's stupid. You don't need to do that. You know what I mean? But it's always people looking for the hottest, quickest, shortcut, secret movement. No wonder I have, a pencil neck. It's because I'm not doing this secret movement. It's like, bro, you just need to horse more weight. It's really that simple. Stop trying to find the perfect recipes and the silver bullets for it. Doesn't exist. It's just freaking consistency and effort and doing hard shit, but finding ways to make it fun so that you want to keep coming back and doing it day after day, because that's the key to consistency, right? It's like a job. If you hate your job, you think it's sustainable? No. But if you love what you do and it just happens to be your job, do you even see it as a job? No, you just love what you do and you happen to get paid for it. That's what you need to find with your freaking training. If you can find whatever allows you to do that, and hey, if it's the Johnny Pencil exercises and you just love them and you drool over them, you can't wait to get back to the gym and do it, then that's what's right for you. And I won't refute that, right? If you hate doing, overhead presses and bent over, if you hate it, then it's not for you, because you're not going to do it. You're going to half-ass it, and you're going to be excited to get to the Johnny Pencil neck stuff, where maybe you're going to give full cojones and gusto. And if you give full cojones and gusto, you'll get more out of it. You know what I mean? So, listen, it's to each their own.
Sideline.
Different strokes for different folks.
Dumbbell rates. It looks a bit odd, but I actually really like it. Unlike a stand.
Dude, this looks like such pencil neck shit. I can't even. I think it's one thing when Arnold was doing it, because it's freaking Arnold, right? We all admire Arnold. But when you see just a normal person doing it, you're like, oh my God, dude. You know what I'm saying? That's no shade. That's just literally, he showed a clip of Arnold doing it. I'm like, I don't know, Arnold. I don't really buy it. But then you see a normal person doing it, you're like, okay, I totally don't buy it. There's zero chance that that's going to make you bulbous.
In dumbbell lateral raise, you get high tension while your delt is stretched, and because you're locked in against it.
Dude, this just looks like dicking around. This looks like I'm at home, or I'm waiting for someone, and they're not, you know what I mean? I'm bored and I have nothing to do, and I have a gallon of water with me. It's like, oh, what if I just did this with this gallon of water? Just dicking around. This is not like, oh, I got a gym, I have unlimited weights, and the world at my fingertips. Let me do this horse crap.
Bench, you'll be nice and stable.
Plus, in most gyms, there's 0 benches available. If I go to a gym and someone's taking up a bench doing this horse shit, I'm not gonna say anything because I'm a freaking nice guy, but I'm gonna be, I'm gonna be like, holy buckets, brother. And he's gotta do both sides too. It's like just,
We got a huge range of motion, and you should get a great side delt pump here. I'm putting these in A tier. For the record, front raises of any kind, so dumbbell, cable, or machine,
I don't have time to talk about it, but I think just get the frick out of here. Unbelievable.
are all going in D tier.
Holy buckets! Dude. I think we all know it's like, hey, if you overhead press, if you bench, if you do any pressing, your freaking front delts are getting enough stimulus, whatever. Does that mean that the front raise is a D tier exercise? D tier? You just said the lateral raises were so convenient, or great because they're so convenient, and you know what I mean? Like they take no time to do. Brother, like when I do freaking shoulder, like I'll just go to the gym and hit a pump of some dumbbells. I don't know about you guys. First of all, I'll always do this stuff, which I talk about every single time because I think this is the money stuff. But if I'm just doing these, you bet your freaking buns, you know what I'm doing after I'm doing these? I'm then bending over straight into it. And then you know what I do once I get these done? Well, I'm already here. Let's just bang some of these out. You know what I'm saying? And when I do this, I'll also bend over, right? And do this as well. My whole point is, what is this, dude? These freaking raises, like, if you're going to do laterals, you might as well do fronts while you're at it, right? That's just my 2 cents. Like, and they're like, oh, I think the front delts get enough stimulus. Like, who cares? Why not get stronger and bigger? Who cares if pressing hits them enough, right? If you already have light dumbbells in your hands and you're doing this stuff, why not just do a couple front raises while you're at it? Doesn't mean you have to go bananas with it, but like to put it in a D tier?
That if you have any pressing in your program, your front delts are already getting more than enough work.
Oh, thank you,
so they don't need any extra isolation. That said, if you're one of the rare few with underdeveloped inferior delts,
get the frick out, dude. This is. What is this going to be? I'm just trying to think. Man, front raise D tier. I mean, let's see what he says.
But if you can't do presses for whatever reason, these will be your go-to. The Atlantis standing machine lateral raise is
he didn't even rate those. I guess those are still D.
Amazing because it feels so smooth and you get this even, consistent tension on the side delts throughout the range of motion. It's easy to add a little weight or a rep from week to week, and since I've been using it, I've actually gotten...
Dude, I'm starting to wonder here, like, I wonder if there's, like... Do you think he's got, like, an endorsement, under the table endorsement or something for some of these machines? Because, like, I don't know what he's going to grade this. I think it's honestly, it's going to be higher than the classics with the dumbbells. But, like, there's no money in big dumbbell, right? But there is money in these machine companies, the Panadas and the Atlanta. Like, these are, probably making, obviously, millions. Of course, millions. And people asked me before, like, that fly machine, and I think I talked about this in a different video, but somebody said, what is even the point of that machine? And my honest answer was, I'll be honest, brother, like, the point is for this company to make this machine, to just sell to gyms, to make money, obviously, as all freaking companies do. That's the goal of it. Everyone wants to make money, so there's no knocking making money. But, like, when you see these crazy-ass machines, giant, 10,000 pounds of steel for the most, like, I see machines now for freaking... hand grip. You know how you can buy a hand gripper for $5? They make like 10,000 pound machines now for a hand gripper. And I thought I saw a hammer strength one in the past. I'm like, damn, that's a little expensive for just this gripping motion. You could buy a $5 gripper for that. But now they have a selectorized and stuff. It's like, dude, you guys, this is just purely for profit. It has to be. And like the same thing with the lateral raise. Oh man, the strength curve's so good. Like, okay, we get it. But, like, how's it any different than a cable? You know what I mean? Then you can grab the freaking cable and you can do it. Like, this is no different than the cables. And I would argue almost it's probably even worse because you're, like, locked into position. And anytime I use these, my shoulders never have aches and pains. These things, for whatever reason, F my shoulders up because it's just not natural. So I'm just honestly, I don't know. I'm starting to question, like, if there's, like, theoretically... is like one of these companies like, hey, we'll pay you, I don't know, he's got millions of subscribers and stuff. It's like, we'll pay you $10,000 if you said this machine's better than the dumbbells. You know what I mean? Like I just can't think of any other conclusion. So, he's got stock in one of these companies or something.
So much stronger with it that I'm getting pretty close to maxing out the weight stack. The only minor snap.
That's another thing too. Like these machines aren't even hard to max out. So where do you go from there? Where do you go from there? With dumbbells, it's infinite weight. You know what I'm saying? Larry Wheels isn't freaking, horse cocking 200-pound lateral raises. I don't think anyone has to worry about maxing out the lateral raises. Whereas on this machine, like, you could be a couple years deep in the gym and already max it up.
Is that since you can't move your arms across your body, you won't get quite as good of a stretch as you will with cables or even with.
But regardless, it's probably, let's see what he has to say. That's just my 2 cents. Oh.
The Arnold line raise. So it's very close to.
Holy buckets! Oh, I think I heard him say butt. What did I say? What did I say? You guys, I'm starting to believe my theory more and more. But I think the reason that he can't and he knows it is because it doesn't have the stretch. And that totally contradicts what he's always talking about. This is a good exercise, but the stretch is not superior. He put the freaking dumbbell laterals in B because the stretch wasn't superior or whatever. Here, it's like, well, the stretch is not that great, but it's S. But I think he knows that he can't get away with that, so he's going to put in an A+, I'm guessing.
I'm going to tentatively knock it back to A tier plus because of the.
Yeah! Man, I am cracking the code figuring this shit out.
Overload in the feet.
Guys, I gotta be honest with you right now. My wife and daughter will be home at any second, and I got half the video to go. There's 0 chance of finishing this. I'm having a great time. I think we should just go to the lateral raise, and then I might have to do a part 2. And someone can say, well, damn, stick. Like, I just want to see it all right now. And I want to do it all right now, too. They got a tinkle. The family's going to come home in any minutes. The dog's going to be barking. It's going to be utter chaos.
It's still an exercise that I do every week, though. The seated machine lateral raise is similar, and I include it as well. But for whatever reason, having the pads.
But for whatever reason, AKA, it's not Atlantis or something. I'm just kidding.
Higher up on my arms doesn't feel quite as good. That might be because the moment arm to the shoulder is.
AKA, hamstrings not paying me massive cash nuggets, which I'm just kidding, by the way. I'm not trying to get a lawsuit or anything like that. I'm just saying, it is kind of funny when you think about it. When you're like, God, he's like pushing certain machines so much. Why is it? But I do agree then. I do agree because I've used both and I hate both of them, but I do agree that this one's even worse in my opinion than and they're home, so wait for part 2.